Right. So, in order to understand why we are going to be learning about n8n and what is its use in this current timeline, right? Why is it so popular? Why are all these things that includes low code or no code, both of them, low code and no code, right? Why are they so popular right now? So to understand that, it is all regarding the hype that AI has created, right? We are seeing a lot of people coming in from various other industries than just tech. We are seeing people coming in from finance and support and sales and all the thing, understanding how to use AI without having the burden of understanding all the huge history of code and programming we have behind tech, right? So without having to learn all of that, people from different industries can still use tech based automation and the rest of the AI specific tools that are in the market today. So what allows us to use these approaches is one tool that is very popular from the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years. It has been gaining a lot of ground, especially with more stronger frameworks that are in the market compared to this tool that is n8n, right? So n8n, I know it is a very odd name, but this tool is basically going to be used for automation. Okay. So before we see dive into n8n, I just want to show a structure of what we are going to learn. We are going to learn a little bit about generative AI, n8n, how to set up this, and I'll show you a couple of ideas how n8n can be used in environments and how examples of how we have used, and then we will dive into a practical session of using n8n and building some example project with it. Okay. All right. So first, before we go into n8n, why is the requirement there for automation right now? Now I know there is a lot of things in the screen, like if you just see it, but all of these are just topics I want you to glaze through. Just remember these names if you can, because these are the hype words, or if you want, if that will be going on in everywhere as we move forward in data science or AI in this field, right? Now, both of these different industries, you can say, that is AI and pure programming, that is code based programming, which is not AI, right? These both can be connected easily using this tool that is n8n. So, before we completely go into it, are there anyone over here who has never used ChatGPT? Right? Is there anyone who have never even used this or who don't know what ChatGPT is, who have never used any kind of LLMs, not just ChatGPT, you can say Claude or DeepSeek or any other LLM, you know? Is there anyone who has done that? Because I feel like if you're ready to learn about these things, you have at least heard about these tools, right? LLMs, which is like the height of AI that general people are able to access today. Because there is more things that if you go into the coding world, but if you see a general technology that became so popular, that is so useful, and in the world of AI, which is representing AI, that will be LLMs that we have your Chat GPT and Gemini and the rest, right? So I hope all of you guys have used it, at least for your schoolwork, college work, and whatever it is, you have used it because they are very important to the progress of tech industry, how we are going forward with this, right? Now, if you want to use this tool to build a practical application, right, you will have to understand these many things behind LLMs. That is how generally this programming works, how you can integrate LLM. I'm not going to tell everyone to create your LLM, bother about that, because it's a big task, creating your LLM and thinking in that scale. Because I would say the biggest problem that everyone today we face is data, right? Data has been such an integral part. Why are we seeing everywhere in the news like normal companies are not able to build their own LLMs? Why are they not able to scale to the level of ChatGPT? Why we don't have Indian companies that are tackling ChatGPT? Why don't they have competition from India? You know, well, why is that there? Because it's not like money is a problem. We have money. It's not engineers. We have world class engineers in India right here. We have engineers working in so many tech fields and leading so many companies. So why is it that we are not able to produce any reasonable competition for ChatGPT or Claude or any of that? You know,
Data.
yes. Whoever
Because
said that, yes, you're absolutely right.
as in India, no one is ready to give their identity or their
Yes.
name, their passwords, emails, and also this is an issue.
Yes. That's perfectly right, Ayush. So this is one of the side where we Indians know about data. Is someone speaking? If you, yes, please speak. Yes. Hmm. That is one side of the issue where we Indians know about this. And we know what data is. We are aware of how that can be misused. That is one side. But the other part of the problem is in order to make a LLM like ChatGPT, you need data to train it, right? There was a controversy long back about what the Chinese people did with DeepSeek. They pretty much, overuse the weights of ChatGPT to produce their own weights. So they stole data that, in a way, you can say stole. That's just a different way of interpreting, right? But in India, we are not able to do that because we have laws. We can't just copy someone's weights and produce our own LLM. Now, why can't we do it legally? Because of the lack of data, right? We Indians don't have the data. I'm not just talking about Indians in the sense like there's something problem. It's like we don't have the companies that own this data. Who are the companies that own this data? That is your data collection companies in the US. That will be your Facebook, Google, Microsoft. So these are the big tech companies that actually have the data that you need to train your LLMs. You need to build your LLMs because these LLMs, they are not that complex in code. You know, there are way more complex things we humans have built in code compared to LLMs. Just by looking at the code, so they are not complex in code, but they are more complex in the data requirements. They are very powerful for compute. You need that much compute. You need hardware. So because of this initial requirements, money is the biggest problem, right? Even if you have hardware, you don't have that much money to buy data to train your LLM. So that created this issue where people who don't have data can never beat the likes of ChatGPT or Claude because they have data. They've already bought it. They've trained LLM. So you're not going to reach that level, right? So that is one side of the data issue in where normal people are not able to match GPT. But obviously, DeepSeek found a way to do it, right? DeepSeek did they if you want to know like more about it, DeepSeek pretty much flushed the weights out of ChatGPT, repeatedly asking supervised questions and kind of understanding how it's like you can say like breaking apart and recreating. Not exactly, but doing it like internally. So with that, they flushed the weights out and they created DeepSeek R1. But they did add a lot of their own things. They had their own protocol for making CUDA. Right? So this is how AI is required. Why we Indians are not able to tackle this approach yet. But the other side of it is, even though we are not able to tackle these LLMs or compete with ChatGPT, there is a big market to use these LLMs. Right? We have so much so we have so much different diverse industries in India. So we have a big use case of using this LLM. That's why ChatGPT is worried about the Indian market because we have a very big user base. Let it be any of these companies, they want Indian users. So when you have this much potential, you have use cases for using these LLMs, right? So that's where this tool n8n comes in. So n8n is an online tool. Basically, it is a tool or a server or a compilation of tools that helps you to manage your entire workflow. Okay. Now, there have been a lot of tools before n8n that could also do the same thing. For example, Zapier, which is a common competitor for n8n. Okay. So both of these tools are pretty powerful, but the biggest edge n8n has is it allows you to customize more than Zapier. It gives a lot of customization. Okay. So first, let's understand how are the basics of this thing. So what do you mean by workflow automation? Okay. Now, for people who want to develop a tech service, don't worry about software or servers, front end, back. I'm not talking about deeper into tech. I'm talking about the general service. Because when we look at tech, everyone focuses on the code first, but that is the wrong approach. You have to understand the business case first. What are you solving? Right? That is way more important than just coding it. Because coding is a thing that is required, that is very important, but that comes at the end every time, right? So before that, there is a lot of process of documentation, of logic, of understanding your business use cases. So this is where tools like n8n come in. So when we remove the final code, right? When you have the idea, let's say you have an idea for SaaS, you're going to build a whole service for food delivery or something like that, something very similar. and you can take that entire workflow logic. Instead of using code based tool to do that, if you have that logic, you can do it with the same tools like n8n and Zapier. So that is where the difference is. So to use tools like n8n or any of these low code, no code tools, the biggest thing you need to be capable of doing is understanding your business problem, understanding the approach, understanding the logic that you need to do. Okay, so that's the first part, workflow automation. What do you want to do? If you know the workflow, I want to do A, then because of A, I want to do B, because of B, I want to make a decision, either do C or D, things like that. So when you have that mapped out, that is where tools like n8n will really shine, because now you have a use case that you can directly automate. Okay, so first, after this, the second part about n8n is it is low code. There is a difference between low code and no code. Okay, let me use this annotation. So low code is one thing. There is another thing called no code. No code is different. Okay, we are not talking about completely zero level no code, because you have to understand at least the technologies that are behind n8n. Even though you are not going to sit there and directly write Python or JavaScript or any code like that, you still understand the tech behind. So that is a little bit of code at least. You should know the theory about code at least, or what do these things mean? Like what is an API? How do this? What is an integration? What goes there? How does this connect? So all of these layers you need to understand. Okay. So that is the second part about n8n. Now coming to the payment things. Do is n8n paid or free? So first thing is n8n is a paid software. But there is a difference to it. You have a way to use it for free if you self-host it. Okay. So if you want to, you can use tools like Docker or simple JavaScript runtimes like Node to run your own self-hosted version of n8n if you want to do something locally, right? If you want to do completely locally or set up some automation in your LAN, you can use complete locally without having to pay for it. If you want to run it online or if you want to talk something in the internet, then you will have to buy the pro tiers. But the use right now for n8n is we have a way to completely, there are many use cases you can do, because in our company we use n8n as a different instance. We host it. I'll talk in the next slide about what you mean by hosting and deploying, but we technically host n8n in our own VPS clouds. That is another way where you can save costs, right? So if you don't want to do any of this, if you're ready to pay, then you can obviously go for the n8n inbuilt SaaS hosting, cloud hosting features, or you can also buy n8n from AWS or Azure, any of these cloud providers. There are many ways to do n8n. Okay, so that's about how to use n8n. Now let's come to what is the main use case of why do we want to do this. So data integration is the reason of why n8n is so popular compared to its competitors. n8n allows you to directly talk to all the different things that we generally use in the tech world. Now one of the main things that a lot of you guys would have realized is spreadsheets, right? In corporate world or in business, spreadsheets are compulsory. If you're not using spreadsheets, there will be some sort of tabular data you will be maintaining, because business means finance. If there is finance, there will be tables and data, right? So there will always be a use case for spreadsheets or any kind of sheets, worksheets kind of environment. So that is one thing where n8n is easily capable of integrating into the sheet based environments. So you can make a automation linking Google Sheets or Microsoft Word or something like that, and you can directly do something that you can send an email because of someone filling a form. I'll show you later on in a practical of a complete way of how to do that. Okay. So that is one part about n8n, the advanced data integration it does, where if you map out the logic of what you want to do by using all these other tools, like you want to collect data from some place, you want to send someone a sheet online, right? Or maybe you're hosting some kind of an event, you want to gather the event list, the RSVPs. So you can just send sheets to everyone and just tell them to fill it. And you can, that is one part, right? Obviously, everyone knows that you can send Google forms and you can learn to fill it. But after this, n8n can come into play. It can take that answers, it can do some, send them messages, it can send them emails automatically. So this is where the platform shines. This is where your use case of n8n should come from what you want to automate. So this is where a lot of people fail, because they think like If I learn one specific thing, this tool is enough. But the more important feature of n8n is you have to learn what you will use it for, because that is a point about customizable tools. Okay. So that is the point about data integration. It allows you to integrate data from so many different sources like Google Sheets or any form you're submitting anywhere. If you want to publish data into an SQL server, you can do that also. If you want to publish data into an AWS RDS DB, you can do that. So you can collect data from whatever source you want, aggregate it, do something, process the data how you want, and send it somewhere else. Or you can send a WhatsApp message. Because WhatsApp is also an API based integration. There is WhatsApp APIs, there is Sheets APIs, there is all kinds of APIs. We'll see in a second about the different tools that is there. Okay. Now, one more final point I want to tell about n8n before we see the next thing is n8n not only works like Zapier. If you are familiar with Zapier allows you to do all of these things. There is one extra thing n8n does. It also, if you know coding, specifically if you know a little bit of Python or JavaScript, you can enhance your n8n experience by writing custom scripts. So this allows us to integrate everything, not just no code tools. If you know a little bit of programming, you can integrate that also. You can write a custom Python script and tell it to run on a submission, right? So all of these things are capable in n8n. So n8n, you should look at it as a tool or a platform that will allow you to automate your entire workflow. Okay, so if you have a workflow that you want to happen in specific steps, you want A to happen after B or C, D like this. If you know what it is, then if you use specific tools for that, n8n can build that workflow for you. Okay, so that is the best use case of n8n. Right. So just a second, let me just check your chat. Yes. Okay, there is a command you have posted to run it locally. Akshay, if you want to run n8n locally, this command way is a little bit tough if you don't know what Docker is. I would recommend download Docker desktop and directly take the instance from there. Graphical user interface will be there. You'll be a little bit more used to it. But if you know what Docker is, you can directly pull up a Docker instance from this command and use n8n. Okay. But if you don't know what it is, you can reuse Docker desktop. That will help you more with the graphical user interface of running n8n. Okay. Right. No. Your question is RPA. If you mean RPA as remote procedure calls, right? Okay, that's RPC. If you're talking about remote procedure integrations, it is similar to that, but I don't think n8n is meant to replace any other existing tech, because n8n is more of an open platform. You know, it allows you to build different integrations for tools. It is more similar to Zapier, but the extra thing is it allows you to code with it. Zapier does not allow you to write custom code. So easiest way to understand is, as that n8n is, think of like an agent which you don't have to code for. Think of like a human, right, which who you are going to hire to tell them to do specific things. So you use tools for that. So you can tell them to fill a form or fill a sheet or think whatever you want to do like that. You can directly hook it in a tool and do it. Okay. All right. Okay. Now let's head to the next part. Let me just blur this out. All rounds. Right. So regarding how to use n8n. So like I said, there are two ways to use n8n. You can either self-host it using Docker, or just if you're familiar with Node.js, you can use a simple npm install and use n8n environment completely. Or if you want to use it better, you can use Docker as a first way of using n8n locally or without having to pay for it. The second way, or the better way, or how the production way of using n8n is using the cloud. Now, there are two ways again in the cloud how to use it. And before I show you that, I want guys to show you the direct implementations or the plans first. Okay. So as you see over here, when I open n8n's pricing, okay, now n8n.io is the website for n8n. You can open it out and check it once. And I just want to show you guys the pricing once, because this is a little bit expensive if you have no use for it other than just to learn, right? So why this is expensive is because this is not exactly the software you're paying for. You are paying for the cloud. You are paying to run it, not for the software. You're paying to actually run it. Okay, so if you can run it yourself, you don't have to pay. That is the difference. So you, and there is right now you have, I think, 14-day trial which I just used, and I have an account in that. So yes, there is a 14-day trial period to check out everything. So I urge you guys to go make an account in n8n. I think you can directly log in by using an email or Google, but we'll come to this in our practicals. Okay, so this is the pricing for it, and if you go for the cloud, this is the reason why it is expensive, because you get a lot of things. Okay, so this is the complete environment for n8n. Now, now we know how to deploy n8n and what is it, right? What is it and what it is useful for. Now let's talk about a simple use case. Okay, now I want to show you guys from the use case level so you can understand what all you can do with it. Okay, now, before we go front, there are some keywords that I want you to understand in n8n. In n8n, anything that you do specific to a task, right? You can call it as a node. A node is a task, whatever you want to do, any step you want to take. So you can add a node for anything you want to do. Okay, so they remember that word node, N-O-D-E, node. Okay, now let's take this example that you see on the screen. I want to create a complaint management system. Okay. Now we are not going to code anything, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to see a diagram of how to do this using a native. Okay. Now again, like I told you before, right? Before doing all of this, you can do this in code. If you know how to code, if you know simple web auth, right? Or if you know simple web APIs, front and back end tech, you can do this in simple Python also. But it will be tougher when you want to add LLMs to this. This is where scaling it up matters, right? So let's see a very simple use cases. So what this use cases, there is a shop, not a shop, there is a big apartment complex, okay, where there are a lot of tenants living. Now we want to make a website for it where any tenant, they'll be logged in with their number and they will be able to send a message. Okay. Now when this message is received, we need to understand what this message is talking about. Is it going to ask about electricity? A issue with the houses, right? So maybe there is electricity issues, there's a current issue, or there is a water issue, or it's something related to payment or things like this. We can use a simple LLM for it. Okay, so you can use an LLM that can take the message, tell whether it is electricity or water or payment, and then you can do something with it. So this is the general idea. Now you can, like I said, you can do this completely in code if you are willing to purchase a server for this. For both use cases, you need a server, but if you get a server, make a backend for this, host a front end and do it, you can do that in code. But without diving into code, we can do this completely in a low code environment like n8n. Okay, where you can make a form in n8n that your tenants can directly submit. Upon submission, now we'll see this later on. Practical example we'll see, but I just want to talk about these nodes that you see on your screen. Webhook node, HTTP request node, switch node, this word node. So all of these mean different things that you can do inside n8n. A webhook is something that can take data from somewhere outside. If let's say you are submitting a page, a simple contact us page or something, when that submission happens, you can make a webhook in your software to come to n8n. So if you already have a software existing, you can write a webhook to come to n8n and give you the data. Okay, so that is one way. Now, after we get the data, we can send a request to our uh, LLM. Now, LLM again, it can be anything using your API access to GPT or Gemini or DeepSeek R1, anything. You can get an API and you can send the message to LLM. Okay. Now, let me also do one thing. We have a very simple workflow with this. There's a diagram I also want to just show you guys. Let me just open that for a second. Yes. Now, this might look complicated, but I just want you guys to see it because this is a diagram we have actually used to make the final version. Okay. Now, this is a very simple flowchart for human level. For computers, you need a different thing. We were not going to use this directly in n8n, but this is a level for us to understand. Okay. So now this is not going to dive into code at all. This is not touching any kind of code. So let's just see some things over here itself. Okay, just a second. Let me reshare it then. If it is not visible, yes. Is my screen visible right now? Just a white color
Yes,
screen
sir.
with a
Yes,
flowchart.
it's visible.
Okay, thank you. So let's say we want to build this complaint system, right? So let's make a simple logic for us inside us without going to code or any kind of tools, right? Simple human level logic we can make. So when a tenant submits something, we are first getting through a webhook or any kind of way into n8n. n8n can send it to OpenAI or any GPT to send it to R1 or OpenAI or Claude or Anthropic, any kind of API. When we get the answer, right? Now that level will be simple. It'll just be a message, right? We'll say we can you can form that message. You can tell this is the prompt. You can tell Chat GPT this is the text. Can classify this into electricity or water or rent something. Chat GPT can do that, which is a simple text. So when we give this prompt to GPT, it will give me back an answer. So this answer you can fetch it back again and you can run something called as a switch in n8n. We'll see this later on in a practical implementation. Okay. So when you get back that answer, you can run a switch in n8n and you can categorize it based on what the answer was. If the chat GPT tells me or LLM tells me it is electricity, I can do something specific to electricity. So here what we had built is it is going to update a Google Sheet. So there is a Google Sheet whenever someone puts a complaint, there the tenant's door number, house number will be recorded, their mobile number, and what the complaint text was, and what ChatGPT's response was, and what time this was given, and to whom this was given. Because when we know it's electricity, now the question is directly send a message to electrician, right? Now it's become simple because we already identified what the problem is. So after this, we can use WhatsApp node. So WhatsApp node is another API you can use in n8n. It's WhatsApp business node. So you can use WhatsApp business node. You can like verify number with Meta, and you can send a message to electrician directly, like this person has a problem with electricity without any human involved. When they send a message to your system, automatically a message is going to the electrician. Or if the complaint is about water, it will go to the plumber. If the complaint is about some payment, or if the tenant is telling I want to pay half or something like that, it will go to the supervisor. So things like this you can directly accomplish by using the tools that you identify in this process. So what all tools we have identified over here? We are using WhatsApp as a node, we are using Google Sheet as another node, we are using Switch as another node, right? So these different things are nodes. These are human logic I am using. These are not only specific to tech, I would say, because it's not code related, but you will use these tools to integrate. Okay. Now, yes, Ayush, if you have a doubt, you can
Sir,
ask me.
like many, like to tell, like many PGs, advanced PGs are using such
Hmm.
workflow. And
Hmm.
one more doubt was like, sir, if we want to like, as the message is automated, like the
Hmm.
complaint is taken, sometimes we want to take the complaint personally, so we can
Hmm.
interrupt this process and like interfere into it and do the work. Like
Yes.
when the message is sent, like first message is sent to the tenant through
Hmm. Hmm.
ChatGPT, like through this. From there I want to like from second message I want to continue with the tenant, or like I want to add
Hmm.
something more knowledge to it, like it is missing. So can we do that way, or like
Yes, yes, absolutely.
continuous work?
Whatever we are talking about, right? All of this is depending on your workflow, what you set. Now, let's take an example of what you said. You want this message to go to ChatGPT, and then first it should be handled by human, right? So we can, if you know that workflow, this is the thing you have to be understanding with. This is what I talk about workflow. So now you are telling me the workflow should be, it should go to the LLM, then it should go to a human level to sell that what is this person talking about, is the LLM right or wrong, right? That can also be accomplished by inside n8n. We have a feature called reinforcement alerting, where whenever we are using LLMs or something related to AI, where the answer will not be 100% right or wrong, right? So in these cases, we have human level interaction where n8n will wait till a human comes and tells yes. So this can also be set up very easily
Like
using n8n.
example case is like the
Hmm.
water is not coming, so the
Hmm.
tenant has raised a complaint that water is not coming, so the
Hmm.
message has directly went to the plumber.
Hmm.
So today the like the case is today the water won't be coming as there is some issue with the tank repair is going. the
Hmm.
tenant doesn't know that the repair is going and all. So in this case,
Hmm.
like what?
No, this is a two-way system because what we are setting up over here is WhatsApp will be the business, like I told you, is a tool, right? So below what we have told is after the technician is seeing the issue, the technician can have a panel where they will put the answer. Now the answer can come back to the supervisor or the manager, and the manager can either call the tenant and tell, or we can set up another workflow where the message can be forwarded in WhatsApp to the tenant. So this is all workflow. Whatever you're telling, all of this can be set up if you can logically make a workflow for it, right? If that point in statements that you're telling, if you can make it a logic workflow, like after this one message should go to WhatsApp or message should go to client, then that is what, if you tell n8n, it will be able to automate that. Okay, because this is all a problem of workflows. Okay, is is all right. So now this is as an example I was showing you of what we have used. Okay. Now let's talk about one more example what we can do with n8n. Similar way I'll show you, and then we will dive into the complete practical. Okay. Now content creation pipeline. This is something very commonly we have used in many different clients that we have given to. They always have one pipeline they want to directly automate in when they're generating content or doing specifically to their companies. Okay. Now, again, there are many nodes we have used over here, and I want now this is the reason why I'm showing you all of this is so that you understand these all nodes are possible. Like one more thing, like these are all tools that normal people will be using, right? Slack is a very good integration where people chat in channels and people keep their work business logic there, right? And you can use Notion, which is another note taking app. So this is called as an integration or a node. So all of these different tools you can use and build a content creation pipeline. Okay. Now for this also we have made a flow chart, but again, I don't want you guys to bother about understanding too deeply. Just look at how the workflow happens. Okay. So let me show you that. All right. Yes. Bing is it?
Do you have the list of nodes are possible with n8n?
Yes, yes. To be honest, the list is not so easily made because it is a growing one, and you can always get that from n8n. So I'll show you. So in n8n, right, you have the complete list of whatever integrations are possible. And even if I compile it, I'll give you one right now. Tomorrow it might change because a new company will approach n8n and tell add my product too. Because that is one thing that n8n is very good in. They are very good in adding all of these third party products. Okay. So, okay, I'll just show you one when we create a project because this panel is not visible till you create that complete project. Yes, I think I will just do one over here. Okay. So, or that was the, wait, I'll just directly show you the docs. Oh, this is just showing us the docs. Right. Okay, so they've not listed it in their docs, but I think when we show you the complete practical, that time the list will be visible. Okay, because you can think of the very common ones that obviously will be there, but I'm not able to get the complete workflow. I don't want AI yet. Okay, never mind. Yes. So is if this is visible, now I want you guys to just look at this right side ones. So these are something called as steps, like I told you, right? Nodes that you will be using. Nodes are the specific integrations. Like WhatsApp business is a node, but this is a classification of that. What all can you do? Now let's say I want to. Now this first part is a trigger because you can't start anywhere, right? You need a trigger. So before we directly dive into doing it, let's see about how an example we can do. Okay, let's say I'll also trigger for a chat message. Okay, so we can test this over here. So you want to build something when someone that's related to chat, right? Let's say I am putting like hello. Now, right now, we haven't integrated anything yet, but if you build a chat trigger, it works on a concept of whenever some message is coming, that is a trigger for you. Okay. Now look at this. This thing on your screen, this is a node I've created. This is called as a chat node. Okay. So this is our first part as a trigger. So this is going to be my trigger that is going to happen. Now I can start building my full workflow. After getting a message, what do you want to do? So let's say after getting my message, I want to easily, a very simple one will say, we want to put this message into Google Sheets. Okay. Example, I don't want to go more deeper yet. So let's say I want to put into Google Sheets and I will show this deeper later on when we have a better example. Okay. So this is asking me for an integration. I think I already have an integration. Is it not there? Okay. Just a second, guys. It is asking for my Google login. I'm just going to log in and reshare. Yes. Right. Is this? Yes. So, like what I did behind the screen is I added something called as a credential. Now, this is second part which I want to tell you about. Whenever you're talking about these tools, right? How do we connect? How do we connect n8ns to these all these other third party apps or tools that we're talking about? So for all of them, you will use social accounts like let's say Google account for Google Sheets over here, or for if you're using AI for ChatGPT, you will use a OpenAI API account. So like this, you can use credentials to connect with different social tools or all the various apps you want to use. So that's where credentials come in. Okay. So the part about credentials is used for connecting. Remember that because credentials will come in a lot of play later on when you are directly mapping from one to other. Okay. Now here, after we make one, let's do we have? Okay, I'll just select this chat tester, just an example sheet that there is nothing in the sheet. Okay. So now what I want to do, whenever chat is coming, I just want to send it over here. So this is how you can add a Google Sheet integration. Okay. So I just showed you an example of how the getting started with n8n. You can think of it. Okay. Now we are not going to make this bigger because I have a much better use case I can show you using forms. Because chat is much more tougher. You have to directly connect it to LLM if you want to use it. Right. So let's see a complete direct use case of using a form. Okay. Just where is this one? Now there are many more things we can do with n8n and many more ideas that we can spark. Especially I want to talk about these specific fields that you can use n8n in. Okay, that is customer support, text generation, and personalization. Now, this is something we've already used in n8n for a lot of things, especially personalization. Because when we in a business setting, right, as a company, when we are giving these kind of services to our clients, when we see like, okay, this client as a using n8n or any sort of tool like n8n for their business, they will also see how that can be useful for their you for their personal life. So that is where personalization becomes a good selling point. So let's say you're let's say you're going to a gym, right, and you want to manage your entire timeline. You want to sync at work and rest of it. Just a second, guys. Yes, sorry for that. Right. So this is something we have actually done for a couple of our clients who are college principals. So we have set up personalization using n8n where they wanted to manage their daily gym routine. Right. So their trainer was far away. So what they wanted to do was whenever their training was done, they would make a list of whatever they did and how good they did it and what they ate, their diet, everything. And this would go into a Google Sheet. And the and then we were running custom Python scripts to check what all days have they completed or not, and according to timetable whether it's complete or not. And then it sends a message to the trainer. This is what is the progress. So this is just an example I've given because this is a very useful tool. Something like this is not possible even easily in code. It is a big task even doing something like this in code, but you're able to do all of this with just a pretty much of a free tool, right? So that is why the only thing that is stopping you from using n8n completely will be how much you can imagine the workflow you can do. What logic you can prepare, that will be your limit. Okay, it is all that is the cap. Because if you can create whatever logic, it is a tool that will allow you to create any kind of automation. So it is only limited by how much you can think. Okay, right. Now, okay, before we go there, let me show you the way of how to use it. Okay, let's make a very simple one. We'll make something interactive where you guys can also see a demo of it. Okay, so over here, once you visit n8n.io, you should see this page. And first time when you make it, you will get a 14-day free trial for the complete pro features also. So you can make it and check it out. Okay. So after this, when you come to your dashboard, first thing you can do, you will see is workflows and credentials. So this credentials part I told you, right? So this is what is used for connecting n8n to other apps. Now, like you see, I have an example of a Google Gemini API connection. So similarly, you can connect to OpenAI to use your ChatGPT. So using Gemini API, I can use Gemini for in my middle of my workflows. Okay. Now, now when we want to prepare something, you can either directly do it from scratch, or I also want you guys to check out the templates, because templates is one place where you can understand all the things directly. Right. So let me. Okay, this is something already done. So yes, right. So n8n is a very vastly used product by a lot of people right now. So their templates exist, which are if you see the different things that people have automated, you will get your ideas will spark of how much things are capable, right? So head over to n8n the website slash workflows. So this is a templating system. I want all of you guys to check because there is a lot of things over here that you can get ideas from. Okay, basically any faraway tool that you think, okay, how would I do this? There will be a person who would have used that in an example, because that is where we have seen, like, we were thinking, okay, the client is requiring this, but how do you actually do this? Then using templates, we have seen one person doing this for a different complete project, and that is where it helped us in a lot of use cases, especially with tools like Slack, because Slack is something that documentation is a little less. So if you want to integrate Slack into your n8n, you need help with examples, I would say, rather than direct docs. Okay, so this is the first part. Check out the templates, it'll give you good inspiration. And then let's come over here and create our new project. Okay, so we create a new workflow. I'm going to create it in personal. So in this workflow, this is your dashboard. Think of it like where you're going to place everything. So this is the platform where you're going to place all the different events that should happen. Okay, so first step, like I told, should be a trigger. So for us over here, let's take trigger as a form. Okay, so we are going to create a form. Now this form, let's call it a furniture store. Okay, or furniture, anything, just an example I want to take. Let's forget about the description. Now, what this form will do is, whenever someone is going to submit this form, I want to automate some workflow, right? So let's take some input fields for the form first. Okay, so let's ask the person's name. We'll tell we want name, and we'll say enter name, just a placeholder over here, and we require the name, right? And then let's also say entire mobile or contact. I will call this. Email is too old. Let's just use mobile. Let's say enter mobile, and I will call this as a number, right? And this will be required. Now you can do specific things also. Let's say I want to I want to directly collect some information, right? So let's say, what item is this person interested in? Now I'm creating a form for a furniture shop. Example, okay. What all furniture? Let's say there is a table over here, and we'll add another field called chair, and let's take another called bed. Okay, so these are the three things. We'll say whatever you're interested in, mark that. Now if you want, you can enable multiple choice, so the person might be interested multiple things, but for now we'll just switch it off. Okay, then let's take one more thing, and we will say, which city are you from? So we can make a decision later on, right? Now we can also call this as a drop down, so we give them specific options. So here I will just put short forms like Bangalore and DEL, and we say Mumbai. One more thing, let's say Hyderabad. Okay, so there's just four cities, just four options for our person to fill. Okay, now so now this is our form. So we have created a form. Our trigger, what we have done is, whenever someone submits this form, we need to do something, right? So this is the link for your form. Anyone can. Okay, it's okay. Sorry, we haven't started it yet. So first, let's test it for the first step. So this is how your form is going to work. So I can enter a name over here. I'll say Nitish. Contact. I'll enter a number. Then let's select I want a table, and I am from Bangalore. So this is my submission. Okay. Now, if you see over here, this is my data that has been submitted, right? So we are receiving the data from our form. Now for I'm going to do one thing over here called as pinning. Okay, now pinning means I don't want to do this testing process again and again, so I'm going to pin the data that we have right now. Okay, so that next time it'll be easier to test. The data is already here, I don't have to keep entering this again and again. So that's the use of pinning. Now, if you see the data that I've received, there are many uses for this. You One biggest use is JSON, right? Whenever you see JSON, you should feel like, okay, JSON is the middleman. Everywhere we would have, all of you guys have heard about APIs, right? A simple word like APIs. When REST APIs or this API is involved, that is related to front end, back end, the language that is in between for transmitting data is always JSON. So when you are talking with APIs, you will be sending JSON data and receiving JSON data. So this is where it connects, right? So when you have a custom API, let's say your company has a custom API endpoint you want to talk to, you have JSON over here. So convert the data into JSON and send it there. So now you are accomplishing data conversion also directly without having to use any other tools like Python, because usually this needs Python, or simple JavaScript is much more complicated, but Python is what we use for this every time. Okay. So this is already inbuilt in the way n8n works. And you have its own schema based language also there, which we'll see in a second. Okay. So this is our first step that we have created, where we have created a trigger. Okay. Now this step also has a link. So you can test it in a couple of times. And since we have already pinned the data, right? So it is going to show us. Now I want to also okay, let the data be pinned. We don't have to worry too much. Now I'm going to copy this and put the link. Okay, why is it showing us? So I want to give you guys. Okay, is this working? Let's add the next points, and I think it'll open up. So we have done with the first point. We've collected data. Now what do we do after collecting data, right? We will directly put this data into Google Sheet. That's the next step I will do. So this is where you can look for the notes. Okay. So in this search bar, you can search for Google Sheets as one of the thing, or you can use Microsoft Excel, or anything in Microsoft products. You can search, you convert it into different formats. Or let's say I want to send it to WhatsApp. You can use WhatsApp Business Cloud, right? You can directly send a WhatsApp message if you configure Meta. And you have many things over here. You have a Zapier integration. No, it's okay. If you have a SQL database, you can directly convert some of this into MySQL or MS SQL integrations. Okay. So like this, you can do many things over here. But for our use case, let's use Google Sheets. So now, what all things should my n8n be able to do in a sheet, right? As you see in this screen. Now let's just say simple things. I want to either append or update. Okay. So this is where it is going to take us. Now I already made the account, right? So let's do one thing. Let me make a new sheet for us. Okay. Now I am going to call this furniture store. Okay. Now what all we took from that? We took name and we took mobile, right? Mobile, then item, then city. So this is what are the things that we collected from the sheet, from the form, right? Now I can directly come and select what I want to add. Now you'll see in a second how I can integrate the sheet. Okay. Now this is where the biggest feature of low code platform shine. You don't have to worry about data conversion. If you want to put data from your form to the sheet, it is as simple as drag and drop. Name goes to name, contact goes to contact, items goes to the item. This will be a list of all the items. We can put city, and if you also, let's say you want to know the time. Okay, so let's say submitted time is also one more thing. You can come over here and okay, it's okay, we entered it later. Yes, you have the refresh option, so we can refresh the columns over here and also get the time that this person is submitting, right? So now this is all the things I have added. Now one more thing before submitting the sheet is you need a unique column that is going to match rows in the sheet so that people don't spam it, right? Now usually when we are working with data like this, mobile is a good unique column, so I'm going to select mobile and then we can test. So now when we click on test, the data that we submitted in our form is going to be in our sheet, right? As you see over there, is it is in my Google Sheet right now. So anyone can have a link to this form and submit the form. The data is going to come to my Google Sheet right now. It is that simple to collect any information, collect data from a big this thing if you want. Okay, but this is still the first step. That's it. This is collection we have seen. Now what else can we do with this? Let's see an example of filtering. Okay, now collected information. But what if there are too many useless mobile numbers over here that I don't want? I can add a filter over here. Filter for a mobile number. We'll say mobile number is less than or whatever mobile number is
Greater than
greater
10
than.
digits or 11
Yes.
digits.
Yes, exactly. So we will say if it is greater than, then only allow things to go front. That is one way. But sometimes you can do for both things, right? Because exactly 10 digits means greater than one thing, lesser than one thing. But I don't want to go so complicated. We'll just keep it very simple. Okay. So we'll keep it something simple like this. So if the number is greater than this, then put the filter. So that is what I am telling. So now you can see what item went through and what was discarded. So this went through because this number is lesser than this part, right? So that's why it went through. If the number was greater than, if we convert this into less than and then do the test again, you will see it is discarded right now. So this is what the filter will help us do. If someone is, we can put multiple filters. You can check country based filters. You can put first number. You can put any kind of filters over here so that spam doesn't happen, right? So this is one step. Now let's do one more example show you of making decisions. Okay. So we can add something called as a switch. Switch will help you decide something. Now let's go to our Google Sheets. Now when the form is being submitted, where does it go? It goes to the sheets. So from the sheet, let's say take my item. Okay. Sorry. Take my item. If my item or okay, let's do it on item only first. If the item is equal to table, then do something, right? Let's make another one. If the item is equal to, what was our second item? We had something like chair, right? Yes. If the item is equal to chair, do something. And let's add another one because I think we had bed also, right? So if the item is equal to bed, do something. So I have created three different routes. This is like an if else statement. Okay, in programming, if you know programming, this is like an if else or a switch case statement. So this allows us whatever options do specific things based on each, right? Now you can connect this to one more part. So let's say now after I get this, I want to send a mail. So I'm going to connect it to Gmail. Okay. Now Gmail, we can do message actions and send a message. Okay. And it's asking me for a credentials again. I don't know why it asks for credentials every time. Okay, just a second. Let me just do this. This is one small thing I've seen where across projects, right, credentials are not yet syncing. I think if you give a couple of days gap, it might sync because it's a new account. Yeah, it. So as you see, I have done it. Let me just reshare my screen. Yes. So now when the person wants a table, right? I want to send a message. So we are going to send a message, send it. So this is the resource, is the operation. I'm going to give my dummy email over here at gmail.com, and we can put a subject like table order. Okay. And we can send an email. Let's put in plain text message and tell some we can add many things to this. You can add input fields, right? But right now I just want to show that a table requested. Okay, so this is an email I am going to add, and we don't really require any other thing. So let's just test this. So when we test our operation, and if I go to my Gmail account, okay, I don't have this yet. So let me just open the Gmail account for a second. Okay. Hmm, okay. I Let's do one thing. Let's send it to a different Gmail account. I don't seem to have access to that. Let's send it to this account only wherever we have logged in. So this is a simple account we're using for our company. So I'm just going to add this as the email. Okay. Now when I click on test, I should get an email from n8n. Okay, this was a login email. This one, this first. Okay. So let's just test it. So now let's do one more step also. So we can copy this, and I'm going to paste it two more times. So this is going to go for my second one, and I want it once more for our chair, for a third one, bed, right? So this is if the second one was chair, right? So we can say chair order, chair order, and we'll say chair requested over here, right? And then here we can say
Bed.
bed order. Yes, exactly. So we can say bed order. And so this is three different things that are going to happen based on the decision of whatever the person picks for the option, right? So this is one way. Now I want to do more things. I want to, after sending the email, I want to still continue with all of them. So if that is a use case, you can add a new one over here and call it merge. Okay, there's a merge option also available where you can add multiple things together. So here I want three inputs, and we are going to append or add all the inputs together. Okay, so append is one after the other, or you can combine. You can do pretty much all the things over here. So we are going to select our merge option, and okay, there's a wrong mapping over here. So let's delete this mapping and put it properly to input 3, input 1. So now after doing these three things, okay, we can do one more thing. After sending emails, let's say I want to send a WhatsApp message. Okay, we have to log in technically for this for a Meta account, but you can add a WhatsApp message over here. That message has been sent to that email. Now send it to one more person over here. But to technically continue with this, I need to add a Meta account, which I don't have a business account with me right now. So we just skip this step. Okay. So,
Or you
and
can
let's,
instead add a mail itself, like the order has been confirmed or the order will be done.
yes. Yes, that is also a way you can do. But I just want to show you any other integrations. If you want, we can also do. Let's see Outlook, right? So let's say I want to send a mail to my Outlook rather than Gmail. But yes, there'll be a problem for authentication. So let's keep it more simple. Let's keep it Gmail for our use case over here, right? So because Again, if you know how to use Gmail, you should technically be able to use other things also, right? So after putting this, we can do one more thing. We can say, let's say these mails are sent to the specific shops, right? Let's say they are shops. Now after merging, we can say add another switch over here that will check for, okay, execute previous nodes. Okay, we are not getting data yet. Now this is where I want you guys to check on data. Now what did we do with all of these things? We submitted the form. First, after submitting the form, it goes to the sheet. It filters if the mobile number is not proper. Then it checks on the item. It sends a different mail for each item. And then here, we need to get the input from the merge, right? So in order to get the input, we need to combine the inputs. So when we combine the inputs, we can check one field of data that we want to get, right? So here, I want to get my Google Sheets item. So you can directly drag it over here and check this is what the item carry forward. Okay. So this is going to get our information into this, and just a second. I think we have changed. Okay. Yes. So merging combination needs to happen for this one, but let's we can do other part also. Let's append this and get the data after that. So that is also a possibility, because data is still there with us, right? This is just making the decision. Data is still there with us in our sheets, right? So you can take the data over here from a old sheet also. That is one of the way we can do. Okay. But I'm going to not go that deeper into coming back to the loop, because that is called as a looping workflow. Okay, so let's keep this much. Now let's test this integration, because we still haven't gotten that mail yet. So we are here, and as you see, let me just check my other panels. Usually we do get it very quickly. Okay, it's not in spam yet. Okay, so our Google account is connected and we are doing a send operation to, so all of this is done. So now we test, it is showing us successful, but I think it is putting some kind of spam filter. It might be attached. Okay, sorry, I know where we went wrong. I know, because here filter we changed it, right? So because of this,
Number.
nothing is going front. Yes, nothing is going front. So let's put this greater than and allow our input to go front. So now we are going front of this input, right? And this switch should work as expected. So we are going to send specific inputs to everything. Now we see one item is green. Why? Because there was a table which was submitted, right? So table has gone over here. So now we can do this and test. Okay. So now our message is coming. Table order received. Okay. And now that we have the complete data, we can add more things. If you want to say who the table was received from whom, you can directly add the data over here. Okay, so put a space and you can add this person, right? Table requested from this person's mobile number by name with, just don't worry about the message, we just testing it, right? So now you see I can get the data. I can also get the specific details of the person. Table requested by Nitish with this mobile number. Okay, so when someone fills a form somewhere, you can directly send it to different Gmail accounts if you want. You can make decisions also with with the filter, right? So you can make decisions based on this, and you can directly map your inputs. Okay, now integrations is a very huge thing. Pretty much any social media you guys can think there is an integration with n8n. Every day new things are added to this list also. The very recently Reddit integration was added. So like this, there's a lot of integrations you can do. And for the people who know how to code, you can directly run custom code with this. So custom code running is a little bit advanced by what happens in the backend, because it is technically making a virtual machine running this code and then getting the output. Okay, so if you know how code works, you can directly run Python code, but JavaScript is we have used JavaScript. Okay, so you can run some JavaScript code on whatever data you're getting and make a decision and still do that. Okay, right. So this is how you can use n8n as an example to do your workflows, to automate your workflows. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about some things after we learn, or if you even are familiar with n8n, where can you go front? Okay. Now obviously we have used integrations level. Why I'm specifically maintaining Slack over here is because if you know how to integrate Slack into apps, right, there is a very good employment opportunity with companies which use Slack, because they're always looking for this thing: Slack integration, Teams integration, sometimes even Discord integration also, because this is a very commonly requested thing for when you see in a way of how corporate uses data. Slack is a very common app that is used. You have even Jira integrations. So when you know how to integrate these things, right, it allows you to directly, we don't do business with these companies who are using the same apps, and Teams being a very common app, right? Microsoft Teams is what is the backbone of pretty much the entire corporate industry right now. So if you know how to integrate, or a company which is using Teams, you can directly integrate with n8n and automate their workflow. Okay, right. So let me just check the chat once. Okay, if we have a form. Yes, Google Ads is a very good workflow for this. So Google Ads are two. There are two parts in Google Ads. One is AdSense, which is the old version of Google Ads if you are using that, or you can directly use the new Google Ad account. Okay, so Google Ad accounts, you whatever these things you're running and the leads that are coming from your campaigns, it can be captured and it can be put in a Google Sheet, because technically forms does come into a sheet, right? So you can either go for the campaign level and get the statistics from the campaign, or you can wait for the sheet to be populated and captured from the sheet. So both of them are depending on the logic, right? Because if you don't want to directly touch the form, you can attach a sheet to the Google form, to the ad campaign, and you can integrate with the sheet over here, because anyways that will be the data source, right? So either one of them you can do. Okay. Yes. Can this workflow be integrated? Yes, definitely it can be integrated with any custom front end or backend. That is where the point of APIs I told you. So you can make a HTTP web request to any endpoint, any API backend endpoint. You can make a request, and if there is something happening in the front end, you can use webhooks to capture that data. Or if let's say there's already running workflow where something is being triggered. This is usually webhook. We always talk about this in Meta. Meta works pretty much the webhook way. When you're doing anything with Meta, let it be WhatsApp or Instagram or any business level API you're using, webhooks are what will be used. Okay, so whatever backend, front end, SQL database you have, all of this can be directly integrated and talk to. You can talk to them using an agent. Okay, all right. So now this is what I wanted to show you guys, give you guys a simple tutorial of how you can get started with n8n. Okay. Let me just open the chat again quick. Yes. WhatsApp business account created with personal number. Bing, I think that question has more context. You need to understand about Meta side, because business account, yes, if you have a personal number, you can use a business account. But what happens is in the personal number, right? WhatsApp doesn't give you that many permissions to send many messages. If you have a business account, you have more, like, I think you can send 1,000 messages a day, things like that. But if you don't have that, you have less things in Meta side. So it's not really any difference in n8n. It'll be a difference in Meta side. You have to look into how you can verify your account, get the blue tick verification to stop WhatsApp from banning your accounts.
So
Okay, if you're
blue tick
not using a business
verification.
account.
So blue tick
Hmm.
verification will be needed for this setup.
Yes, yes, that is
Or
independent of this. Blue tick verification will depend on what you can use to verify your business or your personal things.
but WhatsApp is also available on the
Hmm.
web URLs. So we can use our web URL WhatsApp
No, no, no.
link.
That will be a different thing. Web URL WhatsApp is for you to log in and authenticate for WhatsApp. But API level WhatsApp needs the WhatsApp business API. So before you use that, you can use personal WhatsApp account also, but you need to enable developer, Meta developer features and get a API key from WhatsApp. So using that Meta API key, you need to integrate over here, because you have to connect to Meta directly. You cannot use the URL method of this thing. For WhatsApp, the way everything works is through webhooks. So you need to connect to WhatsApp and get an API key that can be used with your account.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Yes. So I think I have covered a lot of doubts for you guys. And if you have any more doubts, I'm happy to clear it in our Q&A session right now. Okay. And yes, self-host n8n. Yes. See, account is just to manage the statistics, but you can directly download n8n because it is partly free, I would say. n8n self-hosted version. It is Apache level open. It's not Apache level open source, but it is half open source at least, without worrying about the backends. So if you want to completely self-host it, I recommend Docker for everyone. So install Docker so you can work with n8n even if you move it to, let's say, future hosting. And how we do it in a company is we host n8n in a cloud called as DigitalOcean. So since my company is located in Bangalore, right, and a lot of our clients are in Bangalore, and DigitalOcean has a region in Bangalore, we have taken private servers from DigitalOcean and we have hosted n8n in that and given it to our client setups. So this is how our company is using n8n practically. Okay, but if not DigitalOcean, you can always use any other cloud provider. You can go to AWS, make a very simple instance in that EC2 instance, n8n, or you can go to Azure Compute, you can use n8n, or you can go to simple VPS like Hostinger. Just buy VPS like Hostinger, or I think GoDaddy also has VPS. So you can buy VPS from these people and host n8n directly in there. So whatever it is, if you don't want to pay for n8n, you can always self-host it, pay for the infrastructure instead. Okay. Yes. Sending SMS. SMS is a very trickier concept because you need a number which needs to be toll free. You need to have restrictions from your carry providers. If you have a number, Twilio is a good provider that is trusted. If you don't have a number, that will be more complications over there. Okay, because you'll have to go for a provider like Airtel or Vodafone and get a number from them and then do the process.